was an Indian Air Force veteran, and I served for 10 years and completed my service in 2022. And at that time also, I kind of wanted to jump into corporate, do a transition. I worked in corporate for a year. And then because of some reasons, I had to step down and I took a break. And that is kind of when I recalibrated and found that MBA should be the right thing for me right now. It will put me in the right path. It's very essential if I want to do a career pivot into management positions. And that is how I kind of got started and hooked on to this journey of MBA and, GMAT, considering, working professional. And I think that's the way to go. And then I came across various platforms to learn, and I took upon Jamboree and I completed my preparation. I started in February 2024, and this was my first attempt that I gave on 22nd of July. So I think with verbal, the most important thing, and if any further aspirants are kind of listening to it, is the thing that I held on to was to find 4 wrong answers. I was never looking for the right answer, because initially I was like kind of looking for the right answer, getting caught into trap answers, not paying attention to detail. But the moment I shifted my strategy from, finding the wrong answers, the 4 wrong answers, I saw a boost in the prep that I was doing, in the prep questions I was solving, in the mock test I was giving. So from a point where I was having like 10 questions wrong or 7 questions wrong, I got down to a point where there were like 2 questions wrong, 3 questions wrong, and that is fine. Even with my score, that is the 90 or 90 or 100 percentile, there were 2 questions wrong. So I'll not say that it was, but that is okay. That is, you don't need to kind of panic if there is a very difficult reading comprehension that's come your way, 5 paragraphs, all scientific, we kind of, it kind of shuts us down over there, and you're like, oh no, time is going, what should I do? So that is not one thing that we should kind of be doing. And another thing that I would say is pay attention to detail. Like I remember when I was going through classes, and my verbal faculty would tell me, okay, this is some, few, many, just for an example, the difference between the quantifiers, and I would like just listen to it. I'll be, acha, haan, I'll remember this. But when the time came to actually get down to questions, you will not believe that there were so many times where the difference between a right answer choice and a wrong answer choice was some, many, few, several. And, these were the kind of things that I made a mental note of to, kind of, I do not have to get stuck in this. This is where I really, really need to focus and maintain an error log. I did maintain an error log as to the kind of questions that I was doing wrong. And then, like after 15 days, once you're done with your syllabus, there's nothing much to kind of revise in verbal. You know what is strengthened, you know what is weakened, but you kind of should go back to the questions that you were doing wrong. And I think that's what kind of puts me on the right path with respect to work. So my quant prep was good. Actually, I was more confident in quant as compared to verbal. Prep, I think practice is very important. No matter, you may get questions from n number of resources, but OG questions are the questions that you should kind of aim to solve. And and a very funny experience, or funny, I wouldn't say funny, a weird experience when I gave my GMAT was that I started finding the questions too easy. And it made me scared. Okay, am I making a lot of mistakes? Why am I getting such easy questions? Or probably they were not that easy. And, maybe I just kind of clicked on them. Whatever was the reason, for some reason, I was extremely good on my time. I had like 5 minutes before I had completed the entire exam. I revised half the questions. So I had 1 question wrong with a score of 87 in quant. And again, with quant also, one thing that really helped me was my time. The last 2 questions were tough. I took around 6 to 7 minutes on them, and I could afford that because I had that time in hand. And another thing that I used to, do a lot with my verbal faculty on doubt sessions was, if I would solve a question and it would take me a lot of time, I would always ask him, is there an easier way to do this? Can I do this faster? can I do this quicker? It's not about kind of getting the answer. It's kind of finding the smart way to get the answer. And slowly you start developing patterns. Like I started getting some patterns in PNCs, and then, okay, if this kind of question comes, I will just do this, this, this. And, or if I have got an answer to some question through some fluke, I applied something, then I'll ask my quant faculty, was this a fluke or does this work everywhere? So, you kind of have to find your ways of improving your time, because unless and until you kind of get your time in hand, probably the questions which are tough that is what I felt, would not go your way. See, I'll tell you, after a point, the questions start getting repeated. I think Jamboree has a lot of resource. If a student, whoever is preparing, completes every question that is there on the Jamboree portal, I think that person is sorted, including the OG ones, because they're available on the portal. I did not complete the entire thing. I think I did the entire quant, I did the entire DI, but verbal sectional tests, there were too many. I did not, do all of them. But then if somebody does that, has the time to do that, and sits and does that with, not just, okay, I did it, I had 15 questions wrong, doesn't matter. And then you go through the explanation, okay. But you need to kind of maintain an error log. I don't know if I still have it somewhere on my desktop, but then I had a very clear chapter-wise error log. Like in class questions, this was wrong. Post session, this was wrong. OG, this was wrong. Advanced question, this was wrong. And then, like a remark section, ask this, why this? So that next time when I'm going through, I'm not going to go through 500 questions every time. Doesn't make sense. I'll just go through the questions where I know, I was not getting the concept right, or I was making a careless mistake, I was overlooking something. So I think the material with Jamboree is more than sufficient to, kind of not want to look at outside resources. But then OG is definitely, I think, a must. Of course. It was, I hate DI. I will just say it out and out. I hate DI. I don't know why we have it. I don't like it. I think not only with Jamboree, but when you actually go online and kind of look for material on DI, it is very, very limited. And I struggled with DI. I was not able to complete DI. Verbal, I would complete on time. Quant, I would complete on time. But DI, last two questions, I could not, in most of the tests that I gave, last two questions, I could not complete. And then another thing that I was doing was I was rushing so much that the last 5 questions would always be wrong. And the challenge, I think, with DI is, apart from the data sufficiency, which is, covered in detail in quant, there is nothing that you can learn. And when I gave my, the final GMAT, I had the worst experience in DI. I sat down, okay, first question, good, yes, fine. Second question, good, yes, fine. And the third was an MSR. I could not understand head or tail of it. I was lost, out of my wits. And, by the time I kind of collected myself, I knew that I had messed up my timing. And I actually had messed up my timing. So then, although what helped me really was when I got my DI work reviewed with the faculty at Jamboree, what they told me is, you have a review option. Don't get stuck on something, just pass it on. Because sometimes what happens is in DI, which I felt was happening with me, now there are 3 parts to the question and you need to answer all correctly. And the other one is tough and you're getting stuck on that. So it doesn't matter if you're solving the easy one also, because your question is not going to give you, marks. So you might as well just park that question. If you have time in the end, well and fine. If you don't, it's just too bad. So I did not have a very good experience with DI. The only thing that made kind of a difference for me was, as compared to what I saw in my mocks and also in my final exam, was not to leave the paper. I think the penalty for, missing questions is much more than having a question wrong. So while, when I was giving my GMAT mocks, whenever I was doing a question, missing out questions, my score was say in 665. Maximum 675. And when I was kind of completing the questions with equal number of questions wrong or even greater number of questions wrong, I was touching 695. So I had it in my head. It was believe me, it was 3 minutes to go. I had 2 questions left. I just skipped the 19th question. It was a 2-part analysis. And I knew I'm not going to get it. Solving 2 parts in that kind of time, skip it, move to the next question. It was some graph thing, answered it, submitted it, and then kind of went back. I had time. I went back to the 19th question with 5 seconds on the clock. I knew it's not going to happen. Just leave it. And you have to take your strengths and weaknesses. And DI was not my strength. And then there is nothing much that you can do also about it. The sectional tests that are available in Jamboree are again more than sufficient. And although I did take the additional DI prep material from the official GMAT but then again, the only thing that it tells you is, okay, it's tough. And, it doesn't get you a way out. There's no methodology. There's nothing to solve. You should know how to read the graphs. You should know how to, I don't think I'm the right person to advise anybody on DI except saying that just, kind of finish your section. I sacrosanctly, and I will tell you word by word, followed the post-class plan of Jamboree. And I'm not like just making that up because you're from Jamboree. If I kind of show you my advanced quant book, which has this plan, or I think the normal quant book, which has this plan in the end, I had put down dates. I had done like a countdown from, first I was planning to give it on the 15th July. And although I did not take the entire 2 months, it's a 2-month plan. I, kind of condensed it to 1 month and reduced the timelines here and there. But I put a date across everything. I have to, this is must. I have to do these 4 sectional tests today, or I have to do, kind of revise this thing today, get down with this today, whatever was there, I followed it blindly. So I had because I kind of condensed it, my mock tests were, I think I started from somewhere 15th of June till mid of July. I had given all the mock tests that were prescribed there. And then again, I was not confident. So I went ahead and I bought 2 more mock tests from GMAT. But then I think even if I had not, or probably I needed it at that time, I was, kind of stuck on a score of 665, 675, 685. So I kind of wanted to see, and then that is person to person. I want essential to, do those extra 2 extra mock tests, but it's up to you. If you want, you should, whatever, kind of suits your boat and suits your preparation. But yes, I think consistency is the key. And if whoever, if you follow the post-class plan, it's not very heavy. It doesn't need you to study 4 hours a day, except the day when you're giving a full-length exam, and it takes 3 hours to kind of, give your entire exam, review your work and everything, 3 to 3.5 hours. There is no other day which would require you to, give so much time to your prep. So I think it's fair enough to say that if you're targeting an MBA college, you want to do it from a good place, you should be giving some time to your prep. You can't, most of the people are working, you have your, work, home, different sort of commitments. But if you want to be there, you kind of have to put in that consistent effort for, at least I needed that. And I think generally, on an average, a person would need that kind of effort. I kind of, so I watch a lot of Netflix and, continuously Instagram reels and everything. I made it a point that, 1 day before the exam, like 24 hours before, I am not going to burden my mind with these sort of things. And that is something that I did for myself. Maybe, some people find it relaxing and, kind of calms them. But what worked for me was I kind of just did not go on social media. I did not, no Netflix, no Amazon Prime for me for 1 day, and have a good night's sleep. And kind of, like I went through a lot of questions that last moment, my error log, and I was like, okay, probability, let me just look at these 2 questions, or let me, just look at whatever I had marked for my last moment thing, went through the formula sheet of Jamboree, went through, I think there is this resources, RC tips and CR tips, just like kind of grazed through them, had a light, good day, and sat down with an intention that, I just kind of have to, keep a check on my timing, be confident, and not panic if you see a very difficult question, which happened with me in RC, that now I don't remember what the paragraph was about, but it was horrible. I don't know from where these people find these paragraphs. It was just, it was beyond what I had seen in the tests and the mocks and everything. Everything was kind of comparable. Quant was easier than what I had seen in mocks and practice tests. Verbal was comparable, except that one RC, and DI was exactly the same. Horrible. With RC, I felt that don't get into gimmicks. First, I used to, I would like generally what people do, how to improve your RC. I Google and then, how to do it faster. And there'll be all sorts of people giving you tricks and tips. Read first paragraph, first line, and second paragraph, last line. Don't get into it. You will have to read it and, kind of understand what things are and give it your time. That is what I would say with quant, verbal. And with quant, it's practice. You need to practice. You need to find your ways to cut down your time. You need to be in touch with your faculty. Kind of, most of us, I felt was, like something that I think that I did differently was I did not only speak to my faculty when I had a doubt. Even when I was doing things right, I would get in touch with Pankaj, who was my verbal faculty, and I would be like, I remember we could do it shorter. मुझे ऐसे याद आ रहा है स्कूल में ऐसा कुछ होता था. Or, this is taking too much of time. It should not take me 4 minutes. You tell me how I can do this. And we would kind of brainstorm together on, yes, there can be a better way. Because sometimes you look at OG explanations, they are, you look at them and you'll be like, what? You can't do this in 2 minutes. So that is, I think, where you have to kind of channel your mind to, and for some people it comes naturally. It did not come naturally to me. So for somebody who's like very good in quant and can kind of look at the question and be like, oh yes, it's like not